Hello everyone, I hope you're doing fine. My name is Skyline. It's April 26th and we're on daily number 10. Whoa, double digits, it's pretty crazy. Today we're doing, maybe not like a super novel game, but it's a game that just shows some good stuff on Numbani. Sometimes it's nice to just have some good stuff. Well, it's You Guys Get Paid? ? They're these guys over here in the red versus Selfless in the blue. And we're on Numbani. Numbani is a map that I think has lots of interesting tool quirks and twists and turns. And it's always a fun map to talk about. So let's talk about it. All right. Now, like I said, in the red is You Guys Get Paid. That's the name of the team, and in the blue is Selfless. All right. So let's look at the attacking lineup. Well, actually, let's skip all this, right? So let's look at the attacking lineup real quick. KSF is on Genji. They have some divey dive, actually a lot of divey dive, with the Ana instead of a Zenyatta. It's pretty much all full dive, except it's double tank instead of triple DPS. Now, dive is a little bit weaker on Numbani than it is on some other maps. In like full dive, I mean, and I'll explain what I mean. Mobility is obviously very strong, but the issue is that Tracer on attack has a little bit of difficulty getting into these high ground areas. And we're going to see that with Moffat. And that's also why this team composition that normally would be kind of weak, we see from Selfless. They're running two tanks that are very sort of mobile initiation type style tanks. They're running Sinatra on Tracer, who doesn't really have any appeal, and then they're running the Soldier and Ana. So this halvesies type of composition normally would kind of get run over by a dive comp usually, or it would get run over by a triple tank composition even. So, but on Numbani, it's special because Defran on Soldier is especially safe up on the high ground. And actually, let's go into the map. We have it all available right here, and let's talk about it for a second. So, once it unpauses, there we go. So here's Numbani, and we have Defran on Soldier on the defense. Woo, we have some problems. Defran on Soldier on the defense, standing here with his Ana player. And this is kind of cool because you have the D.Va chilling, the Winston chilling over here. And if anyone tries to dive them, it's okay. The Winston can pull back, the D.Va can pull back. Not the most ideal dive, maybe. Not the most ideal dive, peel, rather. Maybe not the most ideal peel, but it's still okay. It's still okay. And because there's no Tracer, that will be a problem, because I just explained how Tracer's not so good at getting up in Numbani. It's sufficient. And what I mean by that is Tracer, obviously, if she comes from this direction, she can't ever get onto the high ground. Yeah, she can come from this direction, okay. And she could do like a blink over here, let's say, and then a blink over here, and then a blink up, but now you've used all of her blinks, and that's kind of awkward. Or you can come down here, but you can see this coming from a mile away, and in fact, we saw that in the game, Defran saw the Tracer coming and just dinked her with a couple of headshots, and the Helix rocketed. So the Tracer died very early because she tried to go through this pathway. But if you can get through, I guess it works, although you can't expect pro-level players to just let you meander. Oh, I keep doing that. It's so hard. It's so hard to manage all these windows. You're not going to just go through there. You're not going to just go through there. So, in fact, we'll see it one more time. Early on in the fight, you see, well, we don't see it on camera, unfortunately, but basically, Moffat on Tracer tried to go through this area that we were talking about before. Oh, actually, we did see like one single frame of her doing it. Come on, do it. Ah, there we go. There she is. So we caught her in the act going that way, and all Defran and Michael had to do was just, oh, well, we saw the Tracer, they rotated, and boom, dead. Not a problem. Cool. Yeah, Alt Escape doesn't work when you're dealing with multiple windows like this, unfortunately. It's rough. It only works when you're dealing with some simple windows. So let's look at this next team fight. All right, cool. Let's see if Moffat can get in this time. So, You Guys Get Paid, pushing up again. The Tracer has to come from this back passageway. Here comes the dive, although this dive does not include Tracer. We just saw Tracer was down there. This is only the Genji and Winston and D.Va, which is not as strong of a dive as you normally have. It's pretty good. It's pretty good, you can see, but it just barely doesn't finish them off. Normally, that's what the Tracer is before, but the Tracer can't quite get in. And you see that she's just awkwardly sort of dawdling into low ground. And because of that, there's enough time for Defran to get away, and for his fellow Ana, Michael 3D, to get away. And Selfless winds up holding it really nicely. What does dive mean? Dive is, we'll talk, I'll answer questions after. So Defran finishes off with D.Va. Cool, gets a lot of ultimate charge. Doesn't let her dive off. Nice. Nice, nice, nice. So, let's see the next push. Again, Moffat's still not switching off of the Tracer. Having a lot of difficulty. Defran has Visor. Very strong, obviously, on Numbani especially because of the high ground. It's very easy to get a good spot with the Visor. And Sinatra has Pulse Bomb, which doesn't quite get. So KSF, by the way. Oh, you know what? I can actually turn the... Oh, yeah. I forgot about the sound. Huh. I forgot that there's no commentator for this, so we can turn the sound on. But I'm going to turn it down a little bit because I think it's a tad too loud. So we saw KSF use the blade, but again, there isn't enough support because the Tracer isn't quite there. The Winston D.Va didn't get up quite in time, so he wound up just getting kited back. The blade didn't do anything. It did, it did push the soldier over here, and very smartly of Space on D.Va was, he knew, okay, well, they're going to get dove, they're going to rotate over here. So he was there in time to cut off the escape of Defran on soldier. So they're able to kill Defran relatively easily. He wound up wasting the Visor. And so this is suddenly looking like a pretty good fight for you guys get paid. Yet they lose. Spoiler alert, they lose. Why is that? All right, well, Moffat is dead. He's respawning. He's coming back, but he's not in the fight. He died very early because, like we said, he has difficulty on Tracer. Dead here. No Winston. So now we just have this. We have a Genji and a D.Va and some supports. It's not a lot of damage. Not a lot of damage when you're dealing with these sorts of tanks. By the way, I've never seen a double D.Va explosion ults kill each other, and only them before. I think we've just seen history. I think we've just seen history. Imang gets out of the suit. I think he's really confused. He's like, the enemy D.Va ults? I thought that I ulted. He just comes out, dies. Both D.Vas die at the same time to each other's self-destructs. Really weird. Really, really weird. Anyway, Doc lets off the barrier. Probably not necessary, but it was a safety thing. Okay, they were down heroes. It did wind up sealing the point. For sure, although I don't think they technically needed the barrier. There was a lot of pressure for him to use it though, so it was certainly understandable. Not the worst mistake in the entire world. All right, cool. We have 2 more pushes, it looks like. 1 minute, 20 seconds, that's enough for 2 more pushes. Moffat has a bomb, but all right, now finally we're on Moffat's perspective now, so we can actually see how this happens in real time. Now, they saw him do this, and bam, Defran right there waiting. Cool. That was actually really spooky, by the way. It was like, da. Hello. Man, that's scary. Soldier's a scary guy. All right. Unfortunately, misses the pulse bomb, and Tracer can't 1v1 a soldier while he's in the healing, so has to get back. And Sinatra lands a nice pulse bomb on the Ana, on the attacking Ana, which lets everything happen. By the way, I have no clue how Defran fell off because the camera wasn't on him, but I don't think he got booped off. I think he just fell. I think he was like, you guys got this. He had 100% confidence in his team. Decided, nah, we'll just jump off. Not a big deal. So Selfless will hold this once again. 40 seconds left on the clock. We're going to stagger some people out. All right, do the stuff. No problem. 1 more push. Does Moffat switch off Tracer? No, he stays on. He stays on Tracer, but he will suddenly become much more valuable and useful in this fight. Why? Because of this. Defran's on the low ground. It'll take him a long time to get back on the high ground. Ana as well. Michael 3D is on the low ground. So suddenly this Tracer is a lot more potent. Tracer can do a lot more stuff because she's fighting on the low ground, fighting where it's flat, fighting where she can blink around and have a lot of fun. See, 2 supports. That is an Ana, and that is a Lucio. I know it's hard, but that's who they are. And so Tracer will be able to get down there and do tons of work. Sick right click, by the way, by KSF. Uses the blade. The blade doesn't get too much. Defran has a nano visor available to him, but good kiting by Space on D.Va. Allowed him to get the defense matrix. But whoa, look at that. Moffett started the fight with 50% ultimate, got 50%, and then used Pulse Bomb and then killed everybody, which is maybe more than you'd normally expect. But it just goes to show how much more effective Tracer is when you don't have all those people on the high ground. It's no coincidence that Moffett went from doing basically nothing in any of the fights previously to being super friggin' awesome and basically carrying the fight by himself. So, this is the Streets phase of Numbani, and the Streets phase gets really, really awkward. I've found for teams, it's like, okay, we don't have much time because the spawn's so far away. If you dawdle for too long, the cart just gets to the end. It's really fast. It only takes like 15 to 20 seconds to do that. So it's like, do we swap off? Do we play really mobile? Do we play kitey? Normally you see half the team swap and half the team not swap. And it gets really weird. We're going to see that a little bit with Selfless. Not too much, not like a super crazy amount. But we're going to see it a little bit. So Emong, he decides to go Roadhog. Just kidding. We're going D.Va. All right. So why would he have picked Roadhog? That's an interesting question. All right. That's an interesting question. He was clearly thinking about going Roadhog, but he didn't. He didn't. So would Roadhog be good in this composition? I think it would be a little bit weird, right? You kind of want to swap off, knowing Selfless, they kind of want to swap off to a triple tank here, but they have a lot of people alive. Roadhog would be okay, but at the same time you have all these heroes running ahead of him. It would just be Roadhog with these guys. I think that maybe the Roadhog would actually be good here because it would be able to deal with all of this dive a little bit better. Although I can see why it would be a bit awkward for Selfless to say, okay, we'll just have the Roadhog, because then you're very, very much split. You have these guys in the back. Well, you have these guys in the back, and these guys diving, and having a split comp in Streets phase is not very strong because of how just straight up of a fight it is. Sinatra's going to die as well, and stay on Tracer because she wants to get back pretty quickly. But I think that at this point they should have started to swap off to more tanks, because Sinatra can play Roadhog, as we'll see in a little bit. And so they fight. All right. And as I just discussed, because of the awkward team composition that we're finding, you know, we're still stuck on the Winston and the D.Va, even though it's a pretty flat stretch of land here on Streets phase, is going to mean Selfless has a bit of a disadvantage. You guys get paid. Being the solid team that they are, takes advantage of it, pushes through. I know that fight was super mega confusing because it was the spectator was jumping between the Genji and the Tracer and all those guys, but it's all right. We got through it. Like I said before, Sinatra can play Roadhog, and indeed, he switches off to Roadhog. But now we're super awkward because triple tank, normally you would expect someone to swap off to a Reinhardt here, because now once again we have these guys in the back, and then we have these two tanks sort of going and doing their own thing. They don't have too much support. Just a Winston and a D.Va diving by themselves doesn't pack as much punch as maybe you'd want it to. So because of all these issues that I've been outlining, you guys get paid doesn't have too much of an issue going through Streets phase. It's pretty seamless, actually. They just go all the way through. Not really any serious contesting, and they get it done. But finally, in this last phase, there is no more awkwardness. They'll swap off fully to the standard triple tank composition, which is Reinhardt, Zarya, and Roadhog. And we'll see it in just a second. We're having a little bit more stall tactics here, but it's pretty inevitable that Selfless will lose the point. There we go. Sinatra swaps off to the Zarya, swaps with Emong for the Roadhog, and then Kresnik will have the Reinhardt. Bam. Good. Everything is as it should be. Defran is currently playing Tracer, so Tracer is a little bit of a strange hero as far as triple tank goes. Teams will run Tracer with triple tank sometimes. on certain maps and certain situations. Here, Defran is running Tracer because he's just stuck on Tracer. He was there from Streets phase. He's not going to go swap off. But later on, we'll see he stays on Tracer because of some we'll talk about it later. But normally you'd want to see a Soldier here or some other backline, you know, a McCree potentially. But Soldier is usually the optimal pick. Defran's stuck on the Tracer though, so he will stay on it for now. We see, well, Moffat gets a pulse bomb off on the Ana. That's usually a pretty bad sign. And, well, with the Tracer only, there's not quite enough damage to let Selfless get back into it. So, a nice clean sweep. So, normally, I feel like Defran, like I said, should normally play Soldier. He'll stay on the Tracer here, specifically because, well, we're approaching the end. Tracer's really good at dealing with this last section of the point. All right, stay on Tracer. But let's talk about you guys get paid a little bit. KSF is staying on the Genji. Well, we'll see how this fight goes, all right? So, triple tank, obviously very, very good against dive. Here, there isn't too much punching power on you guys get paid still. They're still running the double tank instead of the triple DPS. So it's still more of a mobile comp that is better on probably the first phase than it is later on. We're going to see that KSF does have a difficult time really getting through this triple tank composition because he doesn't have what would normally be a classic full-on dive comp. But triple tank obviously very good against this sort of setup. Space will swap off to the Roadhog now, which is very strange, very, very, very odd. Also, we swap off to the Reinhardt as well, and all of this does is just make this Genji pick even more awkward than it kind of was before. And that now there's no one diving in with him. He's just gonna get killed by Emong on Roadhog. And despite Moffat getting a nice pulse bomb on Sinatra, because he noticed that Sinatra's shield was down, we're gonna see Selfless still takes this. Nice Earth Shatter through the payload. Does stuff. Emong gets a nice right click onto Ana and kind of kills everyone else. It just happens. So, alright. The Genji pick was a bit awkward, didn't work out. Still, got a decent amount of the way through. Alright, let's talk about the next side. Skipping through. Alright, so now Selfless is on attack. Cool. And they're running triple tank. We're seeing something completely different than before. This is the same comp though. Except KSF is on Genji instead of Tracer, which is just it's just his option, just an optional pick. You can kind of put whatever you want in there. So triple tank on Numbani is a lot different than dive, obviously. This is just going to be more push onto the point and do your stuff. And now normally triple tank would just smash this on most maps. They would just go through, smash this, no problem, because there's not enough dive to break the triple tank, and there's not enough damage to actually go head to head with the triple tank. So normally you just die, but because Moffat is on the high ground, he has a lot of room to just shoot and do whatever he wants. No one can harass him at all up here. And we're going to see that strength come in this team fight. Like I said, normally triple tank would smash this weird kind of divey, kind of not comp, but because of the specifics of Numbani, it's not a problem. By the way, notice Defran knocked out because of Winston. Normally, the Soldier should go a little bit more with his team in this triple tank setup because, these guys, they can't climb walls, they have no mobility, they can't go up and help Defran, so Defran should have been on the low ground to begin with. Lost a lot of DPS because of that, but still, Moffat on Soldier, no problem, deals just a ton of damage, and the rest of you guys get paid, clean it up. Cool. So they will wind up holding this, although Selfless decides to stay in it for a little bit longer. But trust me, you guys get paid, we'll wind up holding this. The shield is broken, and despite a hook onto space, it's no problem. In fact, the Soldier even dives down to get a little bit more damage up. All right, cool. But so normally, I think this would be normally pretty strong. I think that this could theoretically just straight up full hold Selfless. I don't think that this triple tank composition, on average, can beat this on Numbani unless Defran just happens to, you know, get a bunch of headshots in a row and a Helix rocket perfectly. Like Defran does at times. And so a little bit rough having to deal with just some absolutely godly aim and stuff from Soldier. And having lost the Soldier, that's it. This composition no longer works at all. You really need the Soldier on defense here to, you know, make the team. This is all of your damage. You're relying on the fact that the Soldier can stay up there and just pelt people for free. And then these guys just go and be annoying. So without the Soldier, this point's all but gone. That was a forlorn conclusion the moment Defran landed that Helix rocket. So that was potentially a map-winning play, because if he didn't land that, for all we know, that could have been a full hold. That could have been a full hold, and that would have been it. So going to Streets phase, we decided to stay on triple tank. Cool. Triple tank is actually stronger going into Streets phase because it's flatter. There isn't as much crazy stuff you can do. There aren't as many crazy, like, go up, go down verticality. So triple tank is actually stronger on Streets phase. And this halvesies hybrid composition with Soldier plus a bunch of dive heroes, well, actually, you guys get paid knows this, is weaker. So that's why we swap off to the Reinhardt. And later on, we'll see them swap off even further into a little bit more of a standard, more standardized, balanced lineup. But, like I said, triple tank still very strong. Sinatra has Graviton Surge, and Graviton Surge is a pretty good ultimate, so I've heard. And despite Moffat getting a really crazy weird kill on Doc off camera that we will never know what happened, but I assume it was crazy, we do indeed use the Graviton Surge. Even though it doesn't get anything, it gets enough. Gets the Lucio, that's cool. We still have a Earth Shatter. We even have a Nano Visor. Why not? And also the visor from Moffat on the high ground kind of gets, you know, there's too many places to hide on this map, so we didn't quite find anything. But a really nice kill onto Defran. I don't know exactly all the damage sources that happened because we couldn't see it clearly, but he did wind up wasting the visor, and that was absolutely huge. But like I said, Kresnik has the Earth Shatter. He uses it. They wind up getting a couple kills. They get a lot of momentum with it. They killed Lucio. All right. They push through. So really, I think the biggest part of Streets phase is teams need to figure out a little bit more how to get on their feet. Be a bit more decisive with their swaps, because we're saying, okay, you know, we swapped off to the Reinhardt, now we'll swap off to the Zarya. It's a little bit slow. It lags behind a little bit, and we saw that both with Selfless and you guys get paid. So a little bit more decisiveness on Streets phase, although it is difficult. It is very difficult to transition, because oftentimes you get staggered from that initial phase. So here we go, the last thing. Now, let's take a look at, well, all right. Let's take a look at this composition now. Remember when Sinatra was on Zarya? We were talking about before how KFC's Genji was just a little bit, like, just had a little bit of difficulty on the attacking phase, but it wasn't that big of a deal. But now, because assuming Space swaps off to Zarya, just remember, Space swaps off to Zarya, this single lone Genji can do nothing against this. So Sinatra swaps off to the Tracer. And, well, Tracer is very strong in Streets phase because there's lots of flat ground and lots of areas the Tracer can just blink around without having to worry about verticality. It does give a little bit more credence to KSF's Genji pick here. Normally, Genji would do nothing against triple tank, but because Sinatra is in fact playing Tracer, the Genji is actually not as bad as it normally would have been. And I feel like KSF would have played Genji regardless if it was triple tank or double tank. So I think that while normally this team composition is pretty good, this is a good team comp. Well, also when this was Tracer as well, he just swapped off. I think that against this, the best meta decision would just be to stick on triple tank, because that gives a little bit more viability to KSF's Genji pick, despite him dying right there. Oops, a little bit awkward. Still, it will be difficult it will be difficult for KSF to go in against against even just the Roadhog. So once again, Selfless does get the momentum. They managed to push through. Cool. Emong, pretty good player. So I've heard. Maybe you've heard too. Unfortunately, You Guys Get Paid wasn't able to quite get out in time, even though KSF died very early on the Genji. They just took the 5v6, wound up losing. Lots of energy on the Zarya, by the way. And KSF, by the way, here's what I'm talking about. A little bit awkward, right? A little bit awkward. He does get the Ana there, but still, it was not as big of a blade as you're necessarily used to seeing on Genji. I'm not railing on him as a player, by the way. I'm just saying this pick is a bit making it difficult for him, certainly. He has a hard task ahead of him. But still, they wind up beating back Selfless, partially because Space had 100 friggin' energy on Zarya, and that is quite scary. But now, Selfless is coming in. They have some stuff, a lot of stuff. Sinatra will have the Blade pretty soon. And Blade is, it's okay, you know. I think this Genji pick is fine. It's pretty good. The Zarya can kind of block the Genji a bit, but not a terrible amount. And unfortunately, well, here we see a really sick dodge by Defran because the Reinhardt user shatter kind of sidesteps it, and then Kresnik, that's just a mediocre shatter. Didn't quite hit anything. Well, you know, to be fair, the reason why he did that, it's not because Kresnik is just, Kresnik is just a bad player. Why would you earth shatter that, right? It's because he was predicting the shield to go down. Obviously, it was a bit early. Not too much early, though. Only like a second. Only like a second. By the way, I assume this is what happened before. Helix Rocket, triple headshot, bam. Defran, stop being so good. You're messing up everything. So a Visor comes out. Sinatra tries to get stuff with the Blade. Gets kited very well. Very, very good kiting on the side of You Guys Get Paid. Utilizing the boop as well from Lucio. Nano Boost comes out to try to finish this off on Defran, despite him not having Visor, but they can't quite push forward. They did too good of a job shutting down Sinatra on Genji. In fact, she's just going to swap back to Tracer. Seems a bit awkward, right? If this were Zarya, I think this would just be super strong. Plus, Zarya, remember what we were talking about before, where think about the clock, right? Selfless only has to take like this much. They need to take one more team fight, and they had 3 minutes. If you run that Doomsday composition that's just full wombo combo kill you, including Zarya, guaranteed team fight, right? If you have like a Zarya ultimate and a Reinhardt ultimate and a Nano Visor, you're just going to win. That's what's going to happen. So Zarya for the longer term, when you have a lot more time on the clock, I think is normally pretty good. And we're actually going to see how that works right now, because there's Zarya on the defense. But it will work a little bit differently because it is on defense, right? So when you need to hold out for a long time, Zarya can be a bit, unless your Zarya gets crazy amounts of charge, it can be a bit awkward when you don't have the Graviton, you're open for quite a while. 1 minute, 20 seconds left. There are 2 pushes remaining. And there's a lot of stuff. We got lots and lots of stuff now for the defenders. This is looking very good for them. If they can save their ultimates a little bit. We'll see what they decide to do with it. They need to save, well, at least this, right? They need to use either, they need to only use 2, like only use this or this. Not both for sure. If you use both Reinhardt and Zarya, that's a big problem. And probably want to save the Ana too. You probably want to save the Ana so that in the next team fight you have 1 crowd control plus a nano boosted something in the last fight. You want 1 crowd control and a nano boosted something. In this fight, they will wind up using 1 crowd control and just and they'll also use the Visor. Plus they'll use the Blade. So in this last fight, they won't actually have the finishing DPS ultimate. Pretty unfortunate. They didn't have to use the Visor there. I think just a tiny little itty bitty, slightly better ultimate management, and You Guys Get Paid could have potentially taken this entire map. They don't though. Oh no, we spoiled it. We spoiled it. Coming into this last section, Selfless will push in. Of course, They have a bunch of stuff. They have a nano visor approaching pretty swiftly. Notice DeFran is saving it until his Ana friend has it. Doc has a barrier. Oh no, Sinatra got off a sweet pulse bomb. Good job, Sinatra. Earthshatter. It's the apocalypse. And Selfless take it. Great map. Great map. Super fun. Very close. Slight itty bitty mistakes on both sides. Really had a big effect on the game. I love Numbani because it has all these crazy twists and turns. As you could tell, there was so much to talk about. I'm sure that most of you are thinking, oh, well, what about this and what about that and what about that? But, of course, I can only talk about so much. And that's what's so cool about Overwatch. Particularly, I love Numbani because of that. So, let's take some questions. How does Rogue make defensive dive work so well? Well, I mean, Rogue is a very, very coordinated team as far as they, well, you know what Rogue is really good at? Rogue is really good at scouting the opponent, not just out of game, but I mean in game. Rogue is very good at looking and saying, okay, what's the opponent doing? They have these heroes, they're here and they're here, and so they know exactly what you're going to be bringing when you finally push up. We're talking about defensive dive here, and with dive, obviously, it matters your target priority. That's everything. That's everything. And so, for example, if you're running triple tank with a soldier and the soldier's up here, Rogue will know 100% of the time because they are so good at getting that map knowledge. And any little mistake you make, they will capitalize on it. And so that's the most important thing when you're running defensive dive is being able to capitalize on mistakes. And Rogue is super good at capitalizing on mistakes because normally with triple tank, you just sit there. You just sit there and you let them come to you. But with defensive dive, you have to go on them. So you need to have a really keen eye as to when that specific opening is. And that is why Rogue is so swell with defensive dive. What would I have switched the Genji pick to? Let's go back and look at that for just a second. Okay, so here we are. So this Genji on defense could have potentially been, well, we could have just made this a full-on Roadhog, Zarya, Reinhardt comp. That wouldn't have been too bad, I think. I think that actually would have been pretty... Oh, I need to bring up the screen. Whoops. If we had made this just a regular old triple tank composition on defense, that wouldn't have been too bad. That would have been okay, in fact. Although with Sinatra on Tracer, this Genji is no longer a bad pick. This Genji is just 100% fine. I don't have any problem with that. But if we were to stay on triple tank here, then here we would probably want to mirror our own triple tank. Maybe this could have been a Diva instead of a Roadhog because there's no real reason for a Roadhog if there's no divers over here. But certainly, if this were triple tank, this probably, if you're going to run the Reinhardt and the Zarya and stuff, should have mirrored. Or if you're going to go double DPS, make it a McCree. Hey, that's pretty nice too. A McCree for that double backline because you know that they're not going to be diving you very hard with this composition. So lots of different options. Genji, not the worst, but a little bit off. A little bit off. Do I have any tips on performance anxiety? It's really hurting me on playing competitive because I'm just too scared of getting yelled at for not playing good. Let me tell you. So, know what I noticed? Whenever you do anything, there's always this feeling that everyone is looking at you. You always feel like, okay, everyone's looking at me, especially like even when you're super important, right? Even when you're at a dinner or something, you have to do a speech. I know for me, certain times I used to, back when I was in middle school, I used to be like a good Catholic boy. I used to do a lot of religious stuff. I was like the speaker. I was like the kid who did speaking. That was me for some reason. And so I would get up and I would do the reading, or sometimes if it was like a special, not just for mass, but like I would do a special reading for like a special event. I would do it. I'm like, oh my gosh, everyone's looking at me. And then afterwards, literally nobody even remembered what I said. No one even remembered what I said. Oh man, it was so, it was both kind of, I was like, eh. that kind of feels bad. But at the same time, it was a little bit empowering, right? Because like, oh well, no one actually cares. No one's actually really paying attention to it. I mean, even even on YouTube, when I make a video and there's like 50,000 views or whatever, if you look at the comments, a lot of people are just talking to each other. If you look at the Discord, at the Skyline Discord, it's not really about me. It's about other people. So really, if you think the spotlight's on you, it's probably like over here somewhere in the distance. So don't worry about it. Basically, what I want to say. It's not about, you can do your stuff. If people yell at you, then you can mute them. If people yell at you and that makes you upset, they're going to forget about you afterwards anyway. That Genji who's like, you are the worst, and I can't even say these words because they're too obscene. He's going to forget about you instantly within 2 seconds, and you're going to forget about him too. So no problem. Just click the button. It's okay. You're not hurting anyone. You're not hurting anyone. Yes, I was a good Catholic boy for sure. All I've ever gone to is Catholic schools. That's it, because they always happen to be the best schools in my neighborhood. So I mean, it's fortunate that I was able to go to private schools, but I do have that Catholic boy living inside of me. All right, we will take one more question. When did you stop being a good Catholic boy? I never stopped. Where, I mean, I'm not so much into the dogma anymore of like, oh, nomine Patri et Filii Spiritus Sancti, amen, going to church. Like, I'm not so much into all of the mystique, like the mystical side, rather, of Catholicism. But still, the morality sticks with you, right? Do unto others, all that good stuff. So I'd like to think that I'm still a good Catholic, even though I'm not necessarily a God-fearing, go to church, eat the crackers type of Catholic. I think that I still personalize with the religion on a moral level, at least in some ways, right? Obviously, if we're talking about hate gay people, maybe not so much. I'm not so much on board with that. But before we dive down into religions and politics and get everyone all upset, I'm going to cut it off here. Might stream for a little bit more, but for you guys on YouTube, at the very least, never forget to stay positive. Have a great day. I don't have the scene ready, so I'm just going to pretend that this is a dramatic pause when it's really not. See you soon.